Hello and welcome to Nintendo Voice, your voice for everything Nintendo. This is episode 123, recorded on the 17th of January, 2018. My name's Lewis Pugh, and joining me to talk all things Nintendo, we have Harrison Milfeld.
Hey everybody, I seriously thought you were going to do a 1-2-3 or 1-2-3 switch, something like that, but oh well.
And Colin Crompton.
I was waiting for it too. It never happened, but I was expecting it. Hello, everybody.
Not happened yet. But also joining us today, we have special guest Earl Rufus.
Howdy, everybody. I was not expecting a 1-2 switch joke. I don't think anybody remembers that.
But you can
problem is the other guys know that I remember that game. I almost nominated it for best audio of 2017. Anyway, if you wouldn't mind, could you give us a little introduction to yourself?
Okay. Very short introduction. I am an iPhone gamer, which at this point is way too long to me to name ages. Nintendo fan. I've had every one of their home console, way too many versions of their handhelds. I'm a big platformer fan. I'm getting into certain RPGs. I don't find traditional turn-based ones that great, but I like action-based ones and shooters, Heroes, Gears, Call of Duty, Titanfall, Overwatch, all that great stuff.
Cool.
I know Harrison from Twitter, and he invited me to talk about this fantastic Nintendo Direct.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're very happy to have you on board.
Yeah, welcome.
Yep, yeah. It's great to have somebody who's a great Twitter personality out there and just an overall good dude to be on the show to discuss all things. So it's but you know, it's like I think anytime, and that was kind of our goal for 2018. It's like, what aside from growing the podcast, it's like, what do we need? More guests.
Okay, and today's show, it's a fairly straightforward show. Of course, we're going to have some what we've been playing. We've got our Nintendo news. But most importantly, we do have a Nintendo Direct to discuss, which obviously makes the proceedings all more fun and exciting. But before we jump into the juicy news, which I guess we know more. We know the details now. You know the details, but you're going to hear our hot takes, obviously. But let's jump into some what we've been playing. And I think it's only fair. Guests first. What have you been up to? What have you been playing in the Nintendo scene?
Well, as I've noted time and time again on Twitter, I've not been playing Xenoblade for hours on end per day. But yeah, it was a long weekend here in the States, so I had a 4-day weekend technically. I took today off. So I've been playing Xenoblade. I'm up to chapter 6, and most of my time this weekend has been running around doing side quests. I think that between Zelda, Mario, and Xenoblade, Nintendo has created these worlds where you just kind of want to explore everything and not necessarily progress. So I just see something in the little corner that catches my eye. I go there, and there's another quest, another blade, another character I have to speak to. And it's just so fascinating how this whole world kind of unfurls outside of the main quest. Like I was saying before we started recording, I played a quest this weekend that started off with me simply delivering a care package from a soldier in one town to his little siblings in another one. And by the end of the quest, that soldier found out that his dad was on the other side of the rebellion and that his dad had joined them after their mom died. And he's just like, yeah, I'm fighting so that nobody else does that. But the son's like, yeah, then you have me and my siblings alone, so they have no parents. And it's like, that's not where you would think that would start or end, but it was fascinating to see what that is. Or when I finished today, where you had to get a dinosaur drunk. I don't know how that works.
So there's a wide spectrum.
There is a wide spectrum. And what I like hearing about people's Xenoblade stories is most of them I've not heard. And it's great that I've poured so much time into the world already, and I've already gone back post-credits and I've started doing bits and pieces. But yeah, these quests, which can evolve into really cool stories in their own right, which have no like mandatory bearing, as it were, to the story at large, but do impact the world, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I think the little neat thing that they do, and I mean some RPGs do it, but they're actually pretty smart at denoting it, is that there are events in the game, story, or side missions that does change people's opinions and affiliation. So you get marked like, go talk to this person. They'll have something new to say, even though they're still an NPC. It's nice to say, okay, some stuff in this world people are taking stock of, and that changes and evolves. That said, I mean, I'm still kind of iffy on the whole Jade system. With the Merc quest, which I find fun, but it's also like I'm doing like 30 Jades to try to get one criteria, and this random assortment just not fun. Or the field scales where I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna put like 16 Jades I'm never going to use, so I can have enough to get past this one part of the story and move on.
No, that's one thing I've kind of the advice to everybody who asked me like when starting this game, which I have not yet. I mentioned the show. I've actually been playing Xenoblade Chronicles on the 3DS right now to kind of just refresh myself, and I'm almost done with it. But one thing they told me about the blade system is don't ignore all the blades. I mean, pick them up, but it's a matter of like, oh, I have to level this one up to get past like this this obstacle and such, and that's where that's the warning that everybody's given me like with that. So, but another thing I kind of felt with it that because I kind of mentally prepared myself for Xenoblade Chronicles X because everybody told me how, wow, there's so many moving parts, and I got through that. I put over 130 hours into that game, and yet I just felt like, yeah, I felt like I didn't touch everything in there, but still, it was like, this, I got to concentrate on this, I got to concentrate on this. It's like all the different cogs that were in this.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating design. The one thing I would say compared to Zelda especially is that I enjoy the open world, but it's so weird that it's disjointed and there's no real connectivity between, like you can't go from point A to point B without fast travel because there's no real connecting points with them, which I feel like wasn't the case in the original. I could be wrong, but I feel like everything was connected organically for the most part. I think the two bionics, there was a bridge that got destroyed, but other than that, I think any place you can kind of get to by traversing the map if you wanted to more than once.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, that is kind of like the fundamental just world design. So in the original game, yeah, you do have these two titans which were kind of joined or near enough to be. But in Xenoblade 2, it's a bunch of essentially floating islands. They are titans in themselves, but they are just all floating around this world tree or circling around it. And so yeah, you are basically fast traveling from place to place, where in Xenoblade you could take in the sights as you would go from point A to point B, and there would be great sights to see, and there would be lots of like little details and such. But the times themselves are big giant places you can explore it. But there is something to the fact that they are disjointed. I would agree, but I guess the other benefit, although it's hard to knock against the original Xenoblade because it did have a wide variety of environments, is I think 2 does have a bit more of that because they are separated. You do get these locations which benefit from that. They do feel so different to the other Titans, and that kind of goes further. The more you play the game as well, the more you get through the story. They take that up a level as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, I like to see how the races start propagating to different areas once you kind of been there and start talking about it. And I don't want to spoil too much, but I hit the 6 characters' hometown in the game, and it's so fascinating. The first person you meet is like, oh, I've never met anybody who wasn't from here. I'm like, oh, it's kind of neat because then you kind of understand, like, because it's not a pitch, you can just go from point A to point B. Like, these people don't get off the little Titans because they can't.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, more so for other, specifics as such. But yeah, there's, I kind of want to touch on the story of it. But quick background. I think I've picked up during this conversation. I assume you played and beat the first Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yes.
Okay, so you're in chapter 6 so far. So it might be a bit of an unfair question, but how do you feel? Not to rank or anything, but just general feelings in terms of story and atmosphere. How do you feel about number 2 compared to the first so far?
It's kind of funny. I was actually thinking about this because this is the 3rd game in the series, of course. And I think each of them has their own strength and benefits. I think that this one has a lot more. The story is really disjointed, though focused. Like the whole focus seems to be on getting to this tree and the kind of conflicts that it causes with different Titans at different points of their lifespan. But it's also like for a game that really has like an Impending War as its backdrop is actually really kind of chipper and cheesy, which I enjoy, but it's odd for the story they're trying to tell. Where with Xenoblade, I felt like it was paced perfectly where stuff started to unfurl, and as stuff became more and more complex, the game's tone kind of shifted with that. Like the characters were still goofy, but they took things seriously. Where this game, I've several characters' deaths, and none of it really seems that impactful. Or it's like, okay, this happens, and then we're just going to swift gears to something a bit more comical for the next chapter. And I think part of that is also the chapter setup, which I don't think they really do anything with. I'm kind of disappointed by that. As a comparison, I was thinking one of the games I love on my Xbox 360 is Azura's Wrath, and that has a very anime design to it. But in that sense, each chapter kind of feels like a self-contained episode of a show.
Right.
Where here, it just feels like the chapters are just ways to mark the end of a boss fight.
Yeah. I think for myself, the one big bonus I had from the chapter, and it's not the kind of idea, is basically I knew at the end of a chapter there would be a very cool cinematic to look forward to, and that always lived up to it. That end of chapter, I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think there's an end of chapter video which isn't a good one.
Right.
Like one I could someone just go pick a random number between 1 and 10. Let's watch that video. It will be a good one, sort of thing. But yeah, I see what I mean, because it's there are 10. I don't think it's a spoiler to say there's 10 chapters in this game. But yeah, I mean, it's not really structured like a. It does seem a little odd, in my opinion, why it is that sort of chapter segment. It doesn't necessarily need to. Beyond that, like it has that kind of. It does have that open and an end to each, but you feel you could cut it up in different ways as well.
Yeah. Or not cut it up. I mean, I don't see why they couldn't just tell the story in a straight manner.
Yeah, it like you said, it just like from what you're telling me, this does seem a little bit more disjointed. But I mean, it does have its strengths from the other two entries in the game. I mean, the things that I adored about X though was its world and expansiveness and what you could do. But of course, when you look at the story, you're just like, yeah, it felt very throwaway, and I really didn't connect to a lot of the characters, even though your main hero was essentially yourself as this avatar here, where you're just kind of back into control of just your own little protagonist. But it's and plus that may have to do with the art design to be like from X, which it's fine, but it definitely looks it's a step down when you compare to this one right now, because when you look at the ones from X, they look like dolls, and whereas this one, and it's more of an anime feel. So
yeah. And that's another thing. I mean, I don't want to beat up on this game because I'm actually really loving it. I'm up to like 50 or 60 hours in it. It's like the fact that they took away the fact that you can dress up your characters. It is what it is. But like I got to, again, it's not a spoiler to say there's an ice area, and they mention that it's very cold. And then all the characters are still dressed up, and that clothes doesn't cover everything.
That's a fair point, because there's some parts where they kind of take advantage of the fact that they're not all in custom outfits. But yeah, there's like glaring parts where they don't, like that. Like in that scene, if they all had big thick coats on, fair enough. That they've taken advantage of the fact that unlike the original, where they would just wear any like random gear which you would give them due to the stats and such. And it would reflect in cutscenes or whatever. Yeah, there's a few story bits where they go, "Is fair enough?" Like if they were in some random costume, this scene wouldn't play, as in because they're doing a particular thing, or they're wearing something or not wearing something or whatever. But yeah, they are kind of few and far between those moments.
Right.
Man, I just need to get back on this. I really need to get on this game now. I mean, it just like I said, it's the stack of games here, so I'm dealing with.
You say you're finishing up
Chronicles, yeah,
Chronicles 3D. How far are you through that one? I'm just wondering.
Halfway, maybe. I guess.
Okay.
But I mean, the first thing I usually do, and I know it's not technically the best reliable sources, like when I'm usually getting a game to review that's already been released, it's like, because I have to schedule around work, it's like, okay, how long is this game? And I go to, howlongtobeat.com, and that's where they just, again, I'm not sure how reliable it is.
Well, they just lay it all out for you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just like looking at this, I'm like, okay, I got to plan this out and do it in chunks, and then I'm like, okay, I'm definitely playing this late into the night, so that's what I just do. That's just me. But I'm liking it. I really am. But I think this is a game I probably would appreciate more if I was playing on a big screen. But I understand how it kind of feels a little bit messy when you squish it down to a 3DS size. But it's an impressive feat, though. But for that type of a system,
definitely.
But,
and I'm not sure entirely because you were saying it was great to have a lot of games on the Switch where there are these big worlds and you kind of jump in and there's lots to do in them. And I've kind of been echoing that, and a lot of people have, but it's great that, and I'm wondering if you play your system portably as well, and if that was kind of a factor in it, like you'd be able to like dip in and out, you would have more opportunities to because of the form factor, or do you mostly play it as a just home console TV experience?
It goes back and forth for me, really. I mean, and it's just like, if there's a game that I feel like is going to look good on the screen, I'm going to have it docked. But for the convenience of like I'm getting ready to go to bed, I'm going to have my Switch next to me, right next to the bed. So that's the convenience for it right there. I have yet to take it out in the wild with me because
you don't get nicked.
Let's just I don't want to get nicked. Oh, God. Let's just say a Switch is not like the back of a kitchen where I work at is not the best place to bring a Switch when you're playing your breaks.
Yeah, I can see that.
Fair enough.
Also, just from your reference, because I've not actually used howlongtobeat.com before. Like out of context, it's a bizarrely sounding website. But checking on the stats for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Not the main story, because it is broken up between main story, main and extra, and completionist.
Yeah.
The completionist hour count apparently is 236 hours for Xenoblade 2.
Oh,
which is quite a lot more than the original game. Although less than X's for 285 apparently.
I mean, I can see that. I think I can see it. I feel like X is more,
but yeah,
I feel like X is more exploratory. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this one mostly going to be the grind with all of the blades maxing out the affinity charts.
Yeah.
Because some of those really do become tedious, or you have stuff where like use their favorite items and their item has like 2 hours in game time. So it's like, yeah, this is going to take a while to use for these.
Yeah, and of course you got some random numbers stuff going on with the actual obtaining the blade from the core chips and the core crystals and just the percentage chance that you'll actually get a rare blade out of them. I'm not sure how much that's going to factor in terms of extra hours and sense of filling that out. Maybe that's a relatively small part, but I imagine that adds all up. Anything else apart from Xeno 2 you've been playing recently you like to share with us?
I dipped into real quick Dragon Quest this demo because that was announced and released right after the Nintendo Direct.
Yes.
I mean, it's Minecraft, but it's Minecraft with a purpose.
Minecraft with a purpose.
I mean, that's the big thing is it has a story. I like the humor in it because it has like this, you got to save the world story, but they make it seem like your character's been here, done that. So a lot of times you'll cut off the narrator and be like, okay, I got this. Just let me go outside and whatever. But so far, I've only played for like maybe 20, 25 minutes. And so far, it's just going around the world and collecting items to build. Like I'm building a room for my guest so that she can help me get stuff to build more stuff. But no, it's nice. It's a very simple kind of action game right now. You have one action button. A lot of it's building and breaking down stuff. And resource management. You have a certain amount of slots for items. You'll drop them off, or you'll build more chests to maintain them. You'll build what people need so that they can help either build up your base or get items and equipment for you, or little, mini side quests in an RPG. So far, the enemies don't seem that threatening. Most of them I mean, you have a stick, so I'm just beating them around with it. But it's a very cute and charming game. I'm intrigued to dip in more of it and see what happens when it comes out. What is it, next month?
I believe it is February. The direct lies to me. Did that ever happen?
It happened.
I did not list that. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know when that comes out.
I do think it's February. I'm not sure the actual date though. So I guess my question is, and I think you may. I'm not entirely sure if you did answer this. Did the demo convince you to pick it up then, when it does come out?
I am not sure of it. Like I said, I want to go back into the demo more. Like, it's not that it's bad, but right now it's very simple. It's just like, okay, it's like a MMO. Like, okay, go here, pick up like 5 things to build blocks so that you can put the block in this wall.
Right.
And once you do that, get straw so you can build a straw mattress. Once you build a straw mattress, then you got to go, so it's like, okay, this is, I mean, I get it, but it's also like, just go here, get this equipment, come back, build it, put it where you need to put it, rinse and repeat several times. I'm sure it opens up, again, like I said, it does hint at a story, and there's other people in the town to help you once you start doing stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm not chomping at the bits to get it, especially being that February is kind of busy. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing for me is like knowing that the 3DS's like lineup for the rest of this year is kind of still a mystery, and knowing like when is that going to be that point where Nintendo just kind of slowly phases it out, because everybody just kept going to the point where like, oh, 2018 the Switch is here, or 2017 the Switch is here, the 3DS has come out, but people fail to realize like how the 3DS still is a sizable profit for Nintendo right now, and it's a matter of that transitioning. I mean, there's still life in the 3DS. It's just what's probably beyond that. Whatever is the question that remains.
Well, we have the Game of the Year announced this week, so we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, at least a 3DS game to talk about it later on. Not technically in the Direct, but they will be grouped together, I'm sure.
I know Colin's going to be happy about it.
Oh, of course. Yes, I forgot about that. Anyway, Colin.
Yes.
What have you been up to gaming-wise? Not too much?
Nothing too much, though. I did start up another round of Pokemon randomized on Pokemon Emerald.
Ooh, well, that's always fun.
I didn't get too far into it, but I wonder what starters it's going to throw at me.
Did you have to retire early then, or?
No. I'm going through it slowly.
Okay.
Because the choices I had at the start, I can't really pronounce it. Is it Bagon? It's a little blue, hard-headed thing.
How much did it weigh?
I don't know. but it's kind of. I had a choice between that. I had a choice between that and a Weedle.
Okay.
Which I did not go with.
That's a recognizable Pokemon.
Or, for my final choice, Deoxys. I was like, what am I going to choose here? So I went with the Legendary, of course. So yeah, I'm just going through gyms and just destroying them, really. Although the first gym, like the final boss, I guess, the gym had all like these crazy legendary Pokemon. Like, that's the one, the gym leader.
Okay.
Had all these crazy legendary Pokemon. Like, what? Where'd you get these? Yeah, it's fun. Oh, and my Deoxys also had a Master Ball on it.
As it was held item.
Which is unusual for a starter to have a held item, and B, it's a Master Ball.
That is uncommon. You are absolutely right. Yes.
Yeah.
Most of the time, that does not happen.
But yeah, that's basically that's pretty much what I've been up to. It's been busy times for me, but that's about it, really. I went too far into it. But
I've not played a randomized game yet, but they do sound fun.
It's a good time killer.
Yeah, it's really fun. Excellent.
Yeah.
And I think we've covered yourself, Harrison. Mostly been Xenoblade 3D.
Yeah, that's really it for there. And yeah, when people that again, a resolution for me for 2018 was, aside from just get back to my backlog, and I feel like January is that good time. But if I would have said this last year, knowing how the onslaught of games that we got in that first quarter. I'm like, oh god, this is just 2017. Slow down. So, but no, I'm just catching up on things, and hopefully I will be able to knock everything down with that.
Awesome. I'll move to myself then. I don't have any new games to talk about. I've been playing kind of a rotation of things. I do have something kind of new to talk about. I think it's a few months back now. Mario Plus Rabbids had an update. Not what we're going to talk about later on. There's a few bits already like that. The versus mode. It didn't launch with it, but it's a fairly new feature. So it did launch with a cooperative mode. But yeah, they did add a versus mode, and they had to tweak how the game worked so you could play that. And I have played a few matches with a friend, and it actually works quite well. They've made some sensible changes to balance things out, and it's got quite a few options to it. It really is kind of its own little game within a game, and it does give me some, it may sound odd to say, but some sort of like Advance Wars type vibes, just because how I would play those sort of games, a multiplayer.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. So you can have, you basically choose 2 people each. Wait, is it 2 or do you have 3 each? Yeah, to teams of 3, I think. And you essentially take turns choosing who you're going to have. You got the normal roster of characters available, and the way they change the actual gameplay is that you have action tickets, and so you can only do like 3 actions of a turn.
Right.
And
okay.
So, whereas before you could, if you're quite close to an enemy or you've just planned things well, with a single character, you could do a bunch of maneuvers. You could like dash you could dash enemies, you could jump on things, you could go in pipes, you could do all sorts of crazy, you could chain up lots of things. Where if you kind of went in an account with someone else and they managed to pull off some sort of feat like that, they could basically like destroy your team before you would even have a chance to take your turn back.
Yeah.
And so it works quite well having kind of these like micro turns, and you have to decide what characters to use and what not to use in your turn. And that breaks that really well. And because
it's like super deep strategy right there.
Oh, definitely. And because like it sounds like a bit too bite-sized, but because of the arenas are kind of appropriately sized for it,
right?
It does work surprisingly well, especially for this thing which was free, came later, little fanfare behind it. But yeah, I think it's a real solid mode in this game now.
How do they balance the characters for that mode?
So they're mostly the same like characteristics from the main game. I imagine they have balanced certain parts. The interesting thing, you do get different loadouts in the sense that your stats and so on don't carry over, so it's all baseline across the characters.
Well, that's good because everything's fair and balanced.
Exactly. So if they like skill tree wise, you like for whatever reason put a load of points into say Mario, but you didn't on some other character, like that doesn't affect the multiplayer.
That's good.
But what you can do after winning matches, you do unlock different variants of the character. So like different classes, basically. And I think that is essentially the difference of, like this character spec'd up slightly differently on the skill tree. Would I've not played around with that too much, but I've unlocked a couple. So that it's cool that it even has that depth to it. Like just this like free modes, as it were, which came out after the fact. There's a bunch of ways you can customize a match. You can unlock different classes essentially and play around with those. If you've got this game and you've not tried that mode, I definitely would recommend it. It's very, very cool. It does kind of scratch some of those multiplayer turn-based strategy itches I get it kind of, which doesn't get fulfilled by many other games. And not to go off too much of a tangent, there was a Advance Wars like game which came to the Switch recently.
Yes.
One of the reasons I didn't pull the trigger on it yet, so I still might, No multiplayer whatsoever. Not exactly. Like for most people, that's absolutely fine.
Gods.
But for me, that's quite a big part of the experience of those games. I will play for the whole campaign, but most of my hour count in that game would be from the multiplayer ultimately.
I can see that. Yeah.
But yeah. So props for Mario plus Rabbids for chucking that in. Really cool. Now, I think that's going to cover what we've been playing this week, though. We do have lots of news to talk about. So let's jump straight into a little Nintendo Direct Mini. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details, let's gauge the temperature of the room. What did we think? How did the Direct Mini leave us, impressed or not? And I guess we can talk about the lead up as well. Because it all goes about anticipation and hype and expectations.
You mean the same hype and lead up that's still kind of continuing afterward right now, after this thing is aired?
Well, so Harrison, why don't you jump in?
What I thought of the overall Direct, I thought for knowing the insanity that it was going through Twitter and Reset Era and all these different types of forums out there, leading up to that Thursday, because insiders saying it's going to be the 11th, and of course how Nintendo America. I wish I was in that same room where Nintendo America's social media department, where they're just practically just trolling everybody when it first things first, when the next hour would come up, we're like, what's Nintendo going to tweet out? And then they would tweet this picture of a flaming Chibi Robo, and at this point I'm like, oh, this is getting so good right now. And then, of course, they just drop this Direct Mini, just, hey, no warning whatsoever. Here it is. And for 15 minutes that they had on there, they covered a lot of bases there that I thought was what they could in that time zone, that time frame, and enough to kind of just fill in those little gaps for the springtime, which, we still didn't know about, aside from, some big hitters like the Bayonetta 1 and 2 collection and, Kirby Star Allies. So to me, that whole point that we got all together in there, it worked really well for 15 minutes.
I would
jump in with general impressions.
Sorry?
Oh, go on.
Oh, Colin, then.
Oh, sorry.
What were your general impressions?
General impression, I thought it was very good. Actually, quite shocked. I've got zero expectations these days for a Direct, because I walk in expecting to be disappointed.
Really?
But this was good. This was good. A lot of the announcements were very. I feel like they could have been saved for a big Direct, but yeah, it was good. I felt like I like the new format they tried of it. The way it looked.
Would you have felt more or less disappointed if it was the exact same content but without the word "mini" in the name?
That's a weird question to ask.
Just because you made the defense point, as the announcements were pretty good for a mini.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying the one.
Would you have gone where they were a bit rubbish.
Normally, when you hear mini Direct, you're thinking we're gonna get some small time announcements, and this one sort of blew me away. I was like, oh wow, they actually are bringing it to the game.
Well, I guess the odd thing with the naming is that they didn't do it to get the word out in advance. In that sense,
right? Exactly.
Because we didn't know it was a mini until we knew it was a Direct, which was the same point that you were watching.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't really soften the blow at that point.
That's true.
All right then.
But I think that was part of the anticipation and the rollout was, to Harrison's point, the whole pre-Direct hype had nothing to do with Nintendo. Nintendo said nothing at all about a Direct. It didn't say anything about revealing anything. It was all driven. Well, it started with EA's leak in November, and people just got in their heads it's going to be a January Direct. And I think people look back to the Switch reveal last year and the January Direct of 2013, where they kind of revealed everything for the Wii U for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
As kind of okay, the Switch is.
We got a dog.
Yeah. So everybody's okay, the Switch is out.
It seems like your dog. It sounds like your dog is really excited to talk about this Direct.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had the Switch is out. All the big games that were announced were out, which was great to get it out in the first year. But now everybody's looking at the 2018. It's what's next? So everybody's hope was like, okay, this 2018 Direct is going to be Nintendo coming out there and being like, okay, we're going to show you Metroid Prime 4, we're going to show you, you know, Pokemon, we're going to show you Animal Crossing. It's like all these games to get hyped for the next year. And that's why people were so anticipating the announcement, because once the announcement came, it meant it would be something major. But I think what got muddled in the announcement, and this was the same thing with Inside, is it's like everybody's like, okay, it's going to be January 11th, it's going to be January 11th, but it's like, I don't know what it is. Like, okay, they're going to make an announcement on Tuesday, and again, that stuff with the announcement, the pre-announcement announcement was fan-driven. Everybody's like, okay, whenever Nintendo, like somebody did a math, it's like whenever Nintendo has a Direct, they do it like 2 days beforehand. I don't know where it got to the point where like, Nintendo has to announce it on the hour. So everybody's like, okay, every hour we're just going to reset the clock. It's 55 minutes from now, 5 minutes from now.
And it's not only that, too. No, not the math that people are getting into, like, when these Directs happen. Now, after the Mini, people are like, it's like a Charlie Kelly from, like, the Pepe Sylvia moment from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's saying, like, okay, they follow up a Direct Mini with another Direct, so it's got to be coming in soon. Like, they all went through the math about this, and I'm like, oh dear, can we just like stop this right now?
Do you think Nintendo puts that much depth of thought into the planning of their Directs, or do they think we're going to build up a Direct, we're going to release it in this month?
I think the problem here is like, surely, like Nintendo's kind of revealed their cards at this point, because you know, basically the exact time when we were expecting a Direct to happen, a Direct happened, even though it wasn't announced. So my assumption here is, because of the fact like word got out and it was so predictable, was the only reason why they didn't announce it in advance as would have been planned. And so that's the only thing they had at their hand for a surprise was, all right, we can't change the date, that's set, so we'll just drop it, opposed to announcing it a couple of days in advance.
I think they were managing expectations, as we'll get to with the content, because like half of the games were remasters or ports of older games. And this way doesn't create expectations like, oh, we're gonna reveal all new Switch games or all new 3DS games. Because again, as we get to in a second, like even Detective Pikachu, which would have been a big announcement for a Direct to say it's being localized, wasn't in a Direct.
Nah.
And I think it was more a case of like, we're just going to manage expectations.
No, and you're correct about that too, Earl. It's just I think what this mini Direct was is just like, I know, okay, well, what's coming up in like the spring exactly, and it just kind of it's filling in those holes a little bit. Not all of them, but some, just to kind of satiate to Switch owners, because comparing to 2017, I don't think we're going to get that same output as far as like big hits, like say and Lewis was using his Joy-Con as a phone there. I know, I could see that. He's probably talking to the NOA social media department saying, like, can I get those dank memes? But
unfortunately, this one doesn't have a mic on it. Nor a speaker like a Wii Remote, which is a shame.
Oh, but maybe in a future update.
Can't even pretend to be a phone. Unless it I guess it could vibrate to ring. I guess Suda could still do that. Make rip out a Joy-Con to try and answer it. Anyway, let's.
Yeah,
it might happen. Let's get to the actual details of this Nintendo Direct. So the first thing that was announced was a pretty big surprise, really. Was I guess essentially it's an enhanced port of The World Ends of You, which was originally released for the Nintendo DS, and it has since been released on iOS. I don't believe it has been for Android. But we're getting The World Ends of You Final Remix for the Switch, coming out this year. And I'm not sure it's using like similar assets or not as the iOS one, but it's a HDR5 version of the game. Obviously being configured for the Switch opposed to the dual screen nature of the DS. And it's also going to have some extra story to it, or some extra content to it. So let's quickly get a read here. Who actually played the original? Did any of us?
I did.
Hey, Colin did.
2 hours.
I did.
I didn't. I didn't. So.
All right, 2 out of 4 is not too bad.
It's not bad at all.
No. All right. So I'll aim this one at both Colin. Then, is this tempting you to buy it again?
Well, I have to buy a Switch first, but
yeah, we forgot to mention.
You've already promised to get one this year.
That he doesn't have a Switch.
But yeah, absolutely. I think the World of You is one of the most unsung heroes of the DS in terms of the use of the touchscreen in conjunction with the actual buttons and stuff. Because you could control 2 characters at the same time if you're skilled enough. Yeah.
I was about to say, I'm curious how that makes a transition, because if I'm not mistaken, it's 10 years. It's been a while. It's a dual screen game where you actually have characters who can combat on the top and bottom screen.
Right.
And I know they did something with that on the iOS version, so I think that's going to use that. But I am curious how that translates. I've never played the iOS version. So that's the big change. It's going to be the combat system was designed for dual screens. It was designed with the character on the top screen and the bottom screen.
Right.
My only connection with this game, really, aside from just seeing the acronym or Tweeny or whatever it is I see on yeah, when I see it on Twitter a lot aside from that is when I'd see all these top 10 lists for best DS games, it would always pop up in there, and I'm just like, what is this game like? And I never got around to playing it, and since then it's very rare to find like a physical copy of that DS game. So I'm excited. I'm intrigued to try something out like this because it's something I really missed out on.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad it's getting a new like. I see that the Switch's thing is like these games they're great games, but they never really got that like fair shot the first time round, and they're now getting a second chance to shine on Switch.
Well, some of the games here, some of them we'll get to when we have other announcements. There's some that fit that mold. There's
a theme for
have an audience for.
Yeah, there is a theme. Well, there's a theme for this direct as far as like a few games that are just getting a second chance in the Switch as far as sales. So yeah, that's a bit of a theme they're going to go through here.
Oh yeah.
Anyone got anything final to say? World Ends of You?
It doesn't have a firm release date, right? It's sometime in 2018.
Just 2018 currently.
I will say this much: it does bode well. I mean, this is honestly the best Square has supported a Nintendo system since the Super Nintendo. I mean, console, not handheld.
Yeah, I mean, like with the GBA, they put a once they finally firmed their relationship in the early 2000s. That's when they're like, because Square wanted to put games on the Game Boy Advance for the longest time, and they're like, okay, we'll kiss and make up. Here we go. Put all your stuff on there,
and they did. Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah,
but
numbered Final Fantasy games hit the GBA.
I think it's interesting. Like the ones of you that Final Mix, it's like interesting that they're using the Kingdom Hearts verbiage there.
I think it makes a bit more sense in this game since this one has to do more music.
True. Yeah,
where remakes would make more sense than whatever they do at Kingdom Hearts. I
mean, the main characters wear headphones, so yeah, it does. It does tie in nicely.
Two series which I've not really played any of, really, but just as a stranger looking inwards, like the style of those games kind of look similar. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, it's the same guy.
All right, the same guy. He must have been busy.
So yeah,
he must have been busy.
All right, let's jump on to some Pokken Tournament DX. We've got some DLC announced. Interesting. I'll get into I'll do facts first. Facts. Okay, we've got two new playable Pokemon are coming. We've got 4 assists as well. So Aegislash.
I think that's how you got it. Yep.
Yeah,
maybe. They're the new playables. And they're being released. Do we have the pricing here?
I forgot the price for the paid battle pack.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's quite pricey, the OOC, and we probably should get the actual price if we're going to discuss it. I think I've got the figure of like £15 or something.
Dang.
15. Yeah, I think it's like 15. Yeah, $15. I believe it was the battle pack. Yep.
Is that
$12.99 for us?
That's each, right? I'm assuming. Because they're selling them as battle packs, and each pack you get, and it's weird wordage here. is you get one playable character, and then you get the supports, and then you get some like avatar costumes and such.
Mm-hmm.
Very weird. Yeah, it's like they're doing it in just 2 loads. It's like what was it?
No, together. That's what normally you'd. Yeah, why just put all one? They are pay this price.
They just want to stretch it out, and have people like enjoy like one new character at once, and then I guess probably do with that.
It kind of depends if it's a character you want, though. Really, you know.
Yeah. Oh, sure, but we're only talking about like 2 characters here. We're not in terms of the playable ones. Are you looking as well, Harrison?
Oh, I was just looking at the pricing, and then we already found out it was $15. So, and
they just come out. Is that 15 for both packs then, or for each pack?
For both.
That's
for both.
Distinction. It's for both.
Okay.
Seems to get out for 2 characters.
But exactly, yeah, it's still essentially $15 for 2 characters there, which is quite pricey. Especially, not sure why I'm putting these 2 things together, but I think it's pricey for Pokken.
Okay, that's interesting.
As in, the reason being, like, it's not the biggest of franchises yet in terms of like just player base or like the scene in terms of its popularity in like tournaments and such. Or any of those kind of factors. It's not like the lead of, and like it seems to be pricing itself as the lead there. Whereas, like, I know when the Smash Bros DLC, I didn't have any personal complaints, but people were complaining about the pricing of the characters, and they were under $5 each, I believe.
Were they? I think it's like £5 over here for us per character. I think around that.
The people I feel bad for are the people who have supported this game since day one because they bought the Wii U version. Then the Wii U version didn't get any update. You have to buy the Switch version and get some arcade characters, and now you have to spend $15 to get even more characters.
Yeah, my Wii U copy's up there, so I feel properly shafted about that. Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a weird double-edged sword because I mean, you look at and I know at least someone's going to groan here on one of these games. But you get games like, I'll start with the non-groaning one. You get games like Splatoon 2. Like, I've not paid any money for Splatoon 2 since I bought it, right? But you've got loads of stages, lots of weapons, lots of costume bits, modes, extra bits. Ooh. Is that from my side?
What? From what? Hello?
Oh, sorry. I had weird audio on my ear.
It happens.
But yeah, so you get lots of free content in games like Splatoon 2. Same thing for ARMS. It had like 5 characters for free. And then, I mean, I've got Pokken on my Switch, but I'm then like, oh, do I pay the premium to get 2 extra characters? Whereas the other games are just giving me free stuff.
It depends. It depends on how much time you're sinking into the game. Because the game, you know, that's what always DLC boils down to. There's a game you want more out of. Buy DLC.
This is true. Yeah. We shall see. Not sure I'm going to push the button on this one, which is, I guess, peculiar for my playing habits. It's usually like if it's I guess it's a good test, really. If it's a game I'm really enjoying, I'm happy, you know, to spend extra for more content. But as much as I like Pokken, I'm not really going back to it that much, and I don't think adding 2 extra characters is going to, for myself, help too much. Right. Whereas, ironically, I felt if they went more down the Splatoon 2 route, they could grow the game a lot more. If they, at least initially, gave free characters, and then after a certain point did paid ones or did some other service or something. But yeah, it's good to see the new content's coming. Anyone else playing it?
Sadly not.
I hope they're more excited than I am for it. But now I'm going to, for now, enjoy my... well, I say for now, that we've got no more free ARMS characters coming. It can only last for so long.
Yeah. How my heart bleeds.
I know it does, Colin. But hey, for now.
But hey, for ARMS, at least we have that official manga that's coming out. So
we do.
We got ARMS lore.
Wait, is it a manga or a comic?
Actually, I think you're right. It's a comic or a graphic novel.
Yeah, it's from Dark Horse, so it's American.
Yeah, so. You're right. Graphic novel.
Very important distinction. Let's jump on to our next game. We've got Kirby Star Allies. Now has an official release date. which is closer than I thought. March 16th of this year, obviously. Not too long to wait. Obviously, we got a new trailer as well. We saw a bit more of Buff DDD.
Jeez, the internet just loves it.
Nintendo must be aware. It's such an absurd thing. It can't just be something they go, oh, why are people interested in this guy? You know,
exactly. No, they know.
Yeah, what do we think of Star Allies?
I thought that Yoshi would have been closer because we saw Yoshi gameplay last year, but we haven't seen Kirby gameplay. So it's odd that Yoshi was completely absent from this, and Kirby has a release date.
I guess just because the Kirbys are easy to replicate as far as that. So, but yeah.
But no, like at E3 they actually had like Yoshi gameplay footage, so I assume Yoshi was further along. And then it's like completely absent for the first half of this year.
It's been secretly scrapped.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Woolly Worlds took a surprisingly long time in development as well. Like
that is true, actually. Yeah.
We originally saw that quite a long time before that got released. So maybe it's something about crafting those fabricated worlds, which takes a long time.
They had to knit them out first and then put them in the game.
Maybe that's the process. They make the whole worlds out physically, and then they 3D scan them in.
That's right. That's it. You got it.
Well, they should do that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It's also cool. Like we've had a lot of just big open world games for lots of things. We've not really had, apart from on the indie scene, any just at least Nintendo 2D platformers. We've had like Rayman Legends. There's been some examples as well, but nothing on Nintendo's end as well, opposed to original 2D platformers yet on the Switch.
Right.
And I think part of that was intentional after the Wii U, where there was so many 2D platformers that everybody's like, where's the other games?
Exactly. And obviously, the Wii U also launched with New Super Mario Bros. U.
That's right.
I will say Kirby and some other games on this Direct, I do think their focus this year does seem to be like expanding the use of the system as a multiplayer device out of the box. Because this has like 4-player co-op. And a lot of like Zelda, Mario, Xenoblade don't really have any type of couch co-op element to it. Like it's great to see people play them and stuff, but there's really nothing that like we have two controllers. Let's make use of that. And it seems that this, when we get to Donkey Kong in a bit, Poken's the same thing. Poken does the whole. I don't know how you use that, but you can do the controllers that way as well. That seems to be their focus this year.
No, you're right on that one. Yeah. Well, the way that Lewis was demonstrating right there, I mean, it's that 2D and 3D playing, but it's like it's cramped, but as we all know. But no, I think this year could be the focus of putting more multiplayer action games or multiplayer focused games onto this one. But I think you left out one from 2017, even though it was a smaller one, was Snipper Clips, and to me, I feel like that's great. It's a great couples game too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is a great, but again, that was kind of, I mean, not to discard eShop or anything like that, but like of the launch games, like I feel like that's the one that people kind of like, it was Zelda.
Oh yeah.
And then Snipper Clips like 2 months later.
Oh no, you're right.
Are you saying that Super Bomberman R wasn't worth it?
I actually enjoy Super Bomberman R and Snipper Clips, but they're kind of like, in the
I never heard anyone say that. Super Bomberman R was actually good.
I didn't say it was good. I said it was worth it.
Either way, like Bomberman R has been getting updates.
Yeah,
believe it or not, significant updates as well. Like the last one had like a whole new mode where it has an intro cutscene and a bunch of other bits, and like it's all free stuff.
Cool.
I think Konami was surprised that it did roll. Like, we should actually do something with this. We can build a fan base.
Like games.
Yeah, no. What they're going to do is they're going to build a machine.
Of course they are.
I feel like Bomberman R is kind of like their secret test bed for their other Konami characters.
Yeah.
Because so many of them have like Bomberman skins now in Bomberman R. And I'm wondering if they're just looking at like the analytic data, going, who are they using? Like who can we potentially make a game for? Who's got an audience still?
Lewis, don't get my hopes up with the third entry in the Zone of the Enders series, because obviously that's a very long shot. But yeah,
I'm not sure how to any representation.
One more thing on Kirby though. I enjoy Kirby games, but like Nintendo's big selling point for this is like you have a paintbrush and spider powers now. I'm like, just say it's Kirby at this point. Like I don't know, like 2 new powers aren't gonna make. Oh my gosh, I need to get this game.
No, but I'm glad to see there's like ability combinations are back again, and so you can use like 2 different types of abilities and have something new. So I guess adding a couple extra into the mix kind of multiplies those combinations as well, which is cool. But yeah, it's surprisingly like this game. Although it looks simple on the face of it, it's got a lot sharper and it looks a lot better than what we were originally shown, which is cool. It's nice to see Kirby in it, as sharp as this, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we know that this is just a prelude to the really wacky Kirby game that they always release. I'm hoping that we get a Rainbow Curse 2 somehow.
Yeah, unlike what we got with the Wii U, though.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I imagine we're going to get all sorts of weird and wonderful Kirby games as we go further into the Switch's lifespan. Next up, obviously, more Kirby.
More.
Kirby more.
Kirby Battle Royale and Dragon Quest Builder demos. So this is more applicable on the American side here. Oddly, Kirby Battle Royale's been out in Europe since end of last year.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy enough. Not actually played it. But we did discuss the Dragon Quest Builders demo at the beginning. I've downloaded it myself, but I've not actually even opened it yet. But I will do. And I know of a local friend of mine who has as well, and he's also fairly impressed with the Builders demo, which actually is what encouraged me to download it.
Fair.
So yeah, I'll play it at some point. Yeah. From what I've heard, it sounds like it could be something I'm interested in. But yeah, that's why demo is a perfect thing for that. I can get a better feel of it. Should we jump into the next bit?
Oh yes, please.
Okay. Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition has been announced for the Nintendo Switch.
This is cool.
It's kind of what it sounds like. So it's got all the content of the Wii U and the 3DS game. It's also going to have a couple of Breath of the Wild costumes for Link and Zelda. And it's slated to release this spring.
Cool. That's awesome.
It's the game that which will, I wouldn't say never die, but one that just
will never die.
No, we all remember when Hyrule Warriors first got announced like 3-4 years ago for Wii U, and of course I will say during that direct how laughable it was, where it was just no text, like there's no logo for Hyrule Warriors. Just dogs getting excited. But no, I'm just surprised how well this is just continuing to move on. It's like, wow, it was a surprise small little hit on for especially on the Wii U, and now it's like, hey, maybe we can actually build something off of this. So
yeah. I'm curious, will this include the My Fairy mode from the previous game? It does.
It does.
And odd fact, I'm not sure how I know this information, despite
okay.
I've got this thing. I don't think I ever actually played this version. I got it as a present at some point.
What is that?
It's a special edition for Legends. It comes with a big compass.
Yeah.
Oh.
But anyway, sorry, to answer your question instead of opening that box. I think the My Fairy mode on 3DS, the fairies are all 2D.
Yep.
They're polygonal now on the Switch.
Oh.
There we go.
There we are.
I know things.
So
you get HD Inku? Is that?
Oh, you get HD Linkle anyway. I'm not sure that's the question or not.
Oh, Linkle.
Like it seems like maybe an absurd statement that Hyrule Warriors has really got quite the following now. It seemed like this very bizarre mix of things which didn't seem like they should go together. But yeah, it seems to have its real fan base now. So I think there's going to be a lot of people on board with Definitive Edition.
Absolutely.
And what annoys me mostly is that they've overlooked Fire Emblem Warriors. Whereas I think that's going to be a much better game. But for people who like Warriors more, that's cool.
I mean, it depends on franchise you're into more, but
I guess that's like the big thing. But I think outside of that element,
yeah.
I just reckon Fire Emblem, they added more to the just that Musu formula.
Right.
Makes it more interesting.
Definitely.
Maybe maybe Earl was talking about the next Kirby game could be a Kirby Muso game. Just think.
I'm thinking about it.
I actually think ideally I would use all those powers for a Kirby RPG. I think that makes more sense, but
that actually could work. No, I mean, no. I could actually that could work. There's probably, I mean, you could mine that for some good, dialogue and stuff. Not like spoken, but written dialogue or anything like that through the Kirby universe. Because I mean, they had an animated show, and they could do some stuff to translate to that.
I forgot about that show.
Oh, trust you've missed the times in the episode on the show where Lewis would kind of like I'd mention the show and he'd slightly recite the theme song. I'm just like, no, I took me years to get me out of that.
Oh yeah, good. I'm back in my memory. I won't speak it out loud there. But yeah, I'm surprised we've not actually had a Kirby RPG. Like he's been in so many different genres, and he's kind of teased RPG a bit. Like there's some bits in Superstar where one of the boss battles is essentially a turn-based RPG battle where you would have a dialogue box and like a sprite would pop down and it would just say, "Oh, whatever attacks," and it would attack. And and so they've been very on the nose of those sort of things, but they've not actually been an RPG. One of the few genres. Yeah, I reckon it is a matter of time, really. I don't think it'll be. I reckon it will happen at some point.
But if they're going to make any more Warrior games, they need to make Star Wars Warriors, because that's the only one I care about.
Have they done Western? Have they done Western IP? I'm sure they have. I'm just.
We're not talking about the fighting game of Masters of Terra.
Oh, God, no. No, we're not. Yeah. We shall not speak its name.
What's next, though?
All right, then. Another new game announced. We got Mario Tennis Aces. Colin's already laughing. This is
terrible.
It looks. Why is it terrible title, Colin?
But
it's just so bland. It's so.
Oh, I'm putting you on the spot. What would you call it? This is how these decisions work.
Yeah, this is what we do. Be like, why do you disagree? Okay, give us a better idea.
Someone's got to sleep in the
I don't work in creative for these game names, but
okay.
Honestly, they could just call it Mario Power Tennis Switch or anything like that. I just feel like Mario Tennis Aces.
Then you would think that's a re-release of Mario Power Tennis.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it
is falling at the first hurdle, Colin. We're gonna stick with Aces for now. Any other suggestions? Send them in. But yeah, this is a Mario Tennis game which brings back a story mode. Although they do call it a story mode, not an RPG mode.
Yeah.
So I think it is going to be that instead of the other. But it is cool to see because what put myself off, and it seems like a lot of people off of the Wii U Mario Tennis, is not the actual core gameplay, but just the fact that in terms of modes and features, it was so bare bones.
Right.
And so it's good to know that this game does have what they are calling a story mode, so a single mode with a lot of content in it you can pour time in and progress.
It's tennis, so I don't know what people were expecting.
And having more courts, I think that was the big issue with the last game, is that it had one court. I mean, the last Game of 3 just kind of like, okay, we got to get something out. Let's just put the bare minimum out and call it a day.
We made this in 2 weeks.
This is the game. I think this is the game they intended to make, and it's probably just that game with like, okay, this is the content we were actually going to make if the Wii U was doing well.
Indeed, and from the live chat, I need to call out. We've had a name suggestion, which also brings me on to another point, which I'm sure we'll be happy to discuss. So we've got Green Moblin, obviously with the predictable title of Mario Tennis. Wah! And which brings up, so we see, and I'm not sure if this was the same on the Wii U version, but we get Waluigi with his hat off and his hair kind of all slicked over. Is that a first, or have we seen that before?
It's a first.
It's a first.
It was a first to me, at least, but I heard some conflicting things on Twitter. Like, oh yeah, it's on the Wii.
I mean, it's Waluigi. I don't know if it's.
If so, yeah, what 5 people? Sort of?
Well, as far as Mario Tennis games go, it's the first time they've done the whole tennis get up with the vices and the photos. It reminds me of Strikers in that they're actually redesigning the characters to fit the sport they're playing instead of just putting Mario Kart.
Back Strikers, yeah.
That'd be cool.
I want Strikers to come back, but next level is much more important to Nintendo now.
Yeah,
I'd say so. I mean, and people were kind of clamoring like, "Oh, why don't we get like Mario Golf?" I mean, like I feel like though that Golf Story is kind of, since it's still exclusive to the Switch, that fills that gap for the time being, which I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah, and it's usually they do tennis first, then golf. So I'm sure we'll get Mario golfing holidays, or whatever they're going to call it.
Golfing holiday.
It's a better name.
Whatever weird it is, because it's meant to be. But whatever title they come up with, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. So yeah, it's hopefully it's one of those things where at least for myself, I kind of do wait for reviews to drop because what it should be. It's just whether it delivers on that. Like Mario Tennis can be great. It can be great fun single player. It can be great fun multiplayer. Yeah. Hopefully they deliver on just a good Mario Tennis game. It would be cool to have on the system. I'm guessing it's going to be all traditional controllers. Maybe they'll have some motion in there. That would be interesting. No. Just as I'm just wondering if they would do that. Because they got the system for it.
I mean, they could, but
or maybe they'll have it. Yeah, they'll have it casual controls or whatever you want, motion controls. Yeah. Again, because I think it's one of those games that you want people to be able to play out of the box with just that, and kind of go back to the whole Wii sports tennis thing of you have one controller, it's your racket.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that would be an easy ad to sell as well. They put the Switch down, they take his Joy-Con each, and then there's tennis, and then there's a whole new market of cater to there.
There you are.
There you go. Good marketing decisions for you. Okay, let's jump to the next. The easily named, especially when it's typed out. We've got Ease 8, Lacrimosa of Dana. I probably butchered that one completely.
Just be accepted.
This is a series I've not played any entries in.
Me neither.
Can anyone represent this series here?
No. Well,
no.
I can't. No, my mind.
No, it's nose all round, isn't it? From what I see, I mean, the battle system doesn't actually look a million miles off Xenoblade.
That was my first thought as well. The music as well.
So, okay, I can potentially get into this. It seems so impenetrable. Just the name of the series, and it's something I've heard about really, but I've never actually seen up close. But Switch is a great system for, at least in theory, RPGs. So it's good to have more of those on there. Definitely, looks to be a good one. Can't vouch for it on any sort of personal level. It's good to see it come.
That is true. Yeah, and this is I never played an Ease game, but this is I was really found this interesting that this is the first time a new Ease title has been on the Nintendo platform since 1992, I believe, from what my notes say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, is it a new one? I thought it was a re-release of a PlayStation 4 game.
Oh, so yeah, it is out on other systems, but it is the latest.
Right. Yeah, on a Nintendo platform, I believe. But aside from re-releases of older games on the Virtual Console.
Okay, next up, a game we've all heard of. Super Mario Odyssey is getting an update, a free update of that. Aptly titled Luigi's Balloon Worlds. If you thought for a moment you'll be playing as Luigi, I apologize.
Well, I'm mistaken.
But that is not the case.
Or if you thought Luigi was the one hiding the balloons, that's not the case.
Exactly, yes.
I don't know what Luigi has to do with this.
Exactly, because in one, it's a mode split up into two modes, essentially. So in one, you're Mario and you're finding places to hide balloons in a time limit. And in the other mode, you're Mario and you're finding balloons that other Marios around the world have set for you. It sounds like a fun mode, to be honest.
It sounds riveting.
I don't know why they're shoehorning Luigi into it.
Like I was like, oh, Luigi's in this game. Like, like Luigi was like the hard mode in Galaxy game. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. It's like, no, Luigi's not. You go to Luigi to start it, but that's it. It's like, he has a cameo, and that's
exactly. Yeah, don't get me wrong. If you played as Luigi, that would be cool. I just think it's weird. It's Luigi's Balloon World, and he's just there at the beginning going, like, good luck, Mario. Have fun with the balloons. He doesn't even set the balloons up. Can't even say that much.
I know when it showed like that this was getting an update, and then you see Luigi, I'm like, okay, we're gonna play as Luigi, and it's like, oh, it's just a little hide and seek kind of portion on there. And I noticed people were very let down on this, which I'm like, okay, here's the thing. I will welcome any type of update to this game, whether it's free or paid, and something like this. I'm glad that at least there's more updated to this world.
Right. Yeah, I see that. Honestly, I feel like Luigi's due another game at some point, or at least be some part of a game. So Luigi's Mansion 3 for Switch. Let's make it
I can't imagine them not doing Luigi's Mansion 3 after the second one did so well.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Design that works.
They're going to wait like 20 years.
That's why I think next level games is much more important to Nintendo than Strikers, because I'm hoping for Luigi's Mansion 3.
Right.
That's a great kind of second or third year game when you can't do another Mario 3D game as big as Odyssey.
That's right. Yeah, definitely.
And like the fact that we had two, like although it was called 2 in Europe and it was just called Dark Moon in America, I believe. Like just the fact that we've had that makes, I think it's so much more likely we'll get a third down the chances that we did get the second. So I think we're over the hump on that sense. So I think a third is
it was like what 14 years or something crazy.
Exactly, but like that's happened now, and so now it's a series. And so, because it's a series, you can look into this series. So we're fine now. It's a waiting game. But yeah, I do like the idea of mode. It's a simple one, but I think just jumping in for 5 minutes or so and just trying to find like balloons someone else has set up, knowing that they have the same amount of time to place them, I think will be fun and like a fun thing just to like play over again, because it is going to hopefully feel very different each time, depending on what sort of player set up your map, essentially.
I think, and we'll see how this goes, like looking at some people play Odyssey and seeing how they play like the turtle races and stuff and how they go about movement, I'm really curious to see like this kind of becoming like that meta Mario Maker stuff that Giant Bomb had, where like, okay, I'm going to go and hide this balloon in some obscure place after using 15 different tricks with the hat and stuff like that. And you have to go and somehow get that same thing from me.
Yeah. And I guess that's going to be the other side of the coin is like, will those really hard ones kind of surface up to a level and like that's all you get? And so you get to like a stage and you just can't find any balloons because it's just these stages where people have like mastered the art of Mario to a degree where they can get from like one side of the kingdom to the other within the time limit, like just dash around the edges. Whereas a normal person running at full speed would only get half that distance or something.
Yeah. Are you timed on finding them as well?
Oh, good question. I'm assuming so. Maybe you're not. We shall see. Maybe it's just scored in a way where it's the opposite, that you get like a better score for what you do, or maybe it's not.
Or maybe the quicker you find, the more points you get, or something. Because there is a point system. Because they have the little ranking. So I don't know if it's how many you find or how fast you find them. Or
Yeah, we'll have to wait for some more details. The other bits we do know about this update. So we're getting some more costumes as well. We're getting a sunshine-inspired costume. Get some sunshine shades and outfit, I guess. Awesome. We also get a musician hat, knight's helmet and armor, and maybe some more, maybe not.
And this is available. And this is going to be available. And they said sometime in February, right?
Yes, as a free update. Cool. Next up on the list, we've got SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy.
Interesting choice.
It's an interesting choice. So this is kind of a new series, kind of not a new series. I can't remember the name of the game which it is inspired by, but it wasn't SNK Heroines. So it's the first game of that name at least. And so it's a bunch of female fighters from other SNK games, not exclusively fighting games. And so we've got it's a 2D 2-on-2 fighter coming this summer. The exclusive female cast from SNK. It's a bizarre game. I mean, it doesn't look bad.
No, it doesn't.
Like a 2D fighter game. It's a bit of an odd.
It's just an odd decision all around. I think
it's a good decision, and I saw it, I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. And then I saw the screenshot. I was like, oh, okay, there's a ton of fan service in there. So, but they're doing it in a way like the fan service is on you because you get to dress the characters how you want.
Oh yeah, I forgot in the direct you can dress them in, and I went through. I'm like, oh, this is just definitely gonna get screenshotted or videoed, like shared on Twitter everywhere.
Oh, it will be, but I mean, then that's on you, not the game developers, because.
Exactly, it's on that person.
But no, I mean, I guess my thing is from the point of view from like a Nintendo fan, it's like, what was the last SNK game that the Nintendo system actually had, where it's like team up game? It's like I don't know these characters.
Yeah, it's been a long time, definitely.
Well, aside from, I mean, this what was it? Who's the publisher that's doing this? NIS or NIS? They're responsible for putting the retail versions out these, but also
Prodigy Software or something.
It's NIS or whatever, unless it's pronounced it right. But what I'm saying is, we've been getting all these SNK games for the past year right now, and is this just kind of a lead into just them okay, we've gotten these here, and as Earl said, here's SNK fan service.
Enjoy.
I mean, they were kind of smart to tie it in with I think because there was a Atari Neo Geo game that came out the same day where it's like, oh, and it also stars so and so from the Art of Fighting 2 that's out on the Wii U Switch eShop today. Okay, that's fine, but those are. I mean, the Neo Geo stuff is great, but that's like a 20-year-old game. And you're just like, oh, here's a fan service game for people who may or may not be fans.
Yeah, I know. SNK is really, when it comes to the fan, people who are very diehard fans of this, whatever, it's a very interesting collective of people. And I know one personal friend of mine who is way into SNK games, whether it's, whether it's King of Fighters or Metal Slug, or even World Heroes for people who are really into that. So this is, again, I'm glad this exists. So, I mean, there's an audience out for it, and it's just I just find it very interesting to see a portion of the direct dedicated to it, which was just short, and we're like, oh yeah, here's this. I'm like, okay, that's a thing.
I mean, I get it. It's an exclusive fighter for that. No, I think it's on PS4. It's really weird. It's a PS4 digital, but I think the physical release for PS4 is a special edition, and then the Switch version is physical and digital.
Yeah, we'll be getting. Yeah, the Switch version is getting digital and physical.
Yes.
But yeah, I think as Earl mentioned on there, whatever. I think this was also you said it was partnered up with another Neo Geo release that was getting released as well that same day with I don't even know the name of the character that's in there, whatever. But it's like, hey, here's this as well from Art of Fighting 2.
Yeah, it's like May or Maya, something like that, I think.
No idea.
Possibly. I'm not sure. Yeah, those two were grouped together. Next up, though, we do have some Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle DLC coming. Not the stuff I talked about at the intro of the show. This is Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is going to be a playable character. He's going to be available in spring. I don't think they mentioned either way whether this is free or paid or how it's being delivered.
I think it's part of the season pass.
Yeah, it's going to be paid, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure it's part of the season pass or not. I mean, the fact there is a season pass. I'm not sure they've delivered everything on it yet or not.
They haven't done the story mode expansion yet.
Okay, maybe this is part of that. But yeah,
you're right. It is this DLC will be available. It's going to be part this spring, and it's part of the game season pass content.
There you are.
Cool. Well, this is quite a clever way of doing things, really, because I've not got that season pass, but putting like a little video like this together and not saying either way, kind of makes me more interested in it because that looks cool. And now I might start checking out, what else is actually in that pass? Is it worth it for me or not? And I can make the decision then, but it's making me at least look at it and reconsider it as an option.
It's probably they should have said that though in the announcement. Like, by the way, this is part of the Game Pass DLC thing. You know, like,
well, I think it's just that they didn't really give any details.
Right.
They just basically had a trailer and it was Donkey Kong, and then it finished up saying like coming to Mario Plus Rabbids, or just the Mario Plus Rabbids logos, basically.
Right.
And that was it, and they moved on to the next thing. It's a lot of good content for Mario Plus Rabbids, apparently. Next up, we have Payday 2. And so this is a game we heard quite early on in the Switch's life, really. Payday 2 is coming. And we've finally got a date for it, which is February 27th. That's in America, and 23rd over here in Europe, for myself at least. And the Switch version is also going to have first access to a new character who has a LED mask, which is very cool.
What is it referencing, everybody, with the words joy and these multicolors? What is it?
Have you folks played Payday 2? I mean, Payday.
I've seen friends play it. I've seen them play it there, but
I'm in the exact same game. I've seen people play it. I've not played it myself, though.
I've been turned off from the franchise because the developers behind it are just really terrible people.
Oh, fair enough.
Really? Yeah.
Well, I had the Xbox. I forget if I had the 360 or Xbox One version, and I played with friends. And the second game just had a ton of microtransactions. And they're like, we fixed it in the PC version, and it's gonna come to consoles. And it was like, okay, 1 month goes by, 2 months go by, 6 months go by, a year goes by. No real update or communication with the fans. I'm like, okay, I'm just done with this game now.
Yeah.
But doesn't Ron Perlman voice a character in that? I could have swore like there's somebody on there, like several celebrities or one prominent celebrity that voices a character in there. I think. Yeah.
But it was, I remember when this game was announced, it was kind of, at the time, the only first-person shooter announced for the Switch. And it's kind of like, I feel like the window passed, especially with Doom being such a great port, where it's like, it's not that important. It's an online, really focused game on a system that still doesn't really have an online network that's worth writing home about.
Yeah. It's a bizarre choice.
I know, and this comes on especially a day where there was, when you mentioned the online, I think was that people were panicking about the prospect of the Switch online service being delayed in the 2019 on Nintendo's website, but turned out it was a typo. So yeah, as of this, no.
I hate the person who wrote that up. Like, what have you done?
But personally, I'm fine with it being free right now. Just of course you have to pay for things out here, whether it's like the classic game service. It's just. Yeah, I think they're hearing that feedback from like the app or something else, and they're just like, okay, we really need to get this right. But
we need to go back to the drawing board on this one. Yeah,
we shall see. I've not heard anything which makes me think they're changing their course on this.
I mean, probably not. Yeah.
I mean, the only thing is, like, they would have heard the backlash. But
one has to stop them before.
Exactly.
Well, it's not even the backlash of the app. It's like they've really done nothing to support it since Splatoon 2. And like it's not even in a point where we see them making some tiny improvements. It's like Splatoon is still the only game that uses it. It's not like they haven't had Pokemon come out afterwards. Doom has come out afterwards. There has been online. Rocket League would have been a great one to do something with that. And there's been no real updates to that app or that support since then, and it's just odd that they just dropped it and nothing since then.
Yeah, it's suspiciously quiet on that front there. And another game I think I'm surprised they didn't use voice chat, but probably not during the actual gameplay, but during the lobbies is arms. I kind of could see some form of that, but again, what place does voice chat belong in fighting games? And so,
Well, I mean, if you play fighting games, you know where voice chat belongs. But
oh no, I know at the top. Yeah, there's a toxic environment there. Oh well.
Okay, the next game on the list is actually what potentially first gave us the date for when this direct was happening. And this is the Zoink games from published by EA. It's apart from potentially like this is like because this was the roadmap for this game as well, where the Nintendo Direct was we'll get publicized on the Nintendo Direct in January. It was for this game, right? That photo which went out originally.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
It was that and that Two Souls or Two Brothers game or whatever that was.
Okay, but yeah, the game itself looks really cool. I gotta say.
Mm-hmm. And this is I was unaware of this whatever until the Direct. I mean that EA was starting their own originals line, so this is the first game that they're doing in there. And I just find it kind of funny how it's like, yeah, we have a line of originals on here, not just of single player game. Thank you, EA, for clarifying that.
It's like we made these. Yeah.
They just go down now. Like I've got to say, there's something to that brand, I guess. It does seem a lot of stuff coming out of EA Originals is like it lives up to the name, as it were. It is original stuff. It doesn't feel like it's stuff which would come out of EA normally.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Which is cool. Yeah, I can respect them for that at least.
Yeah, I do.
And I guess coming along the same line, we've got Celeste, indie platformer from the Towerfall developers, map makers, coming this month, January 25th.
And for anybody like that, for a platformer, like a really tough platformer, this is definitely up my alley. But I do appreciate that there is it's not like an easy mode, but it's a slightly lower difficulty to ease, I won't say novice players, but people who don't really want to deal with like an overly difficult time in like a platformer of this type. So
a funky mode, as it were, yeah.
Yes, that mode.
Okay,
that's a good transition. Good transition.
Fair enough.
Indeed.
All right, let's jump then straight into Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Switch, releasing in May 4th this year. And as I just alluded to, with the added Funky Kong. As an extra playable character, it seems like kind of an easy mode, or very much an easy mode, very much a super easy mode. But also kind of looks cool. But yeah, like Tropical Freeze is a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I'm going to be picking up a second time.
Okay.
Very cool game. I'm not sure it's that sort of game really. I mean, I think I got what I needed out of it.
Well, I want to ask a question among everybody. What did everybody prefer? Donkey Kong Country Returns or Tropical Freeze?
Oh,
now
that's a question.
I prefer
Freeze for me. Freeze for me.
I'm going to say
Returns. Game with
Returns.
better music.
I think Returns.
Oh, easily.
For me.
No, and I forgot what this video series was like detailing, like the level design of Tropical Freeze and the difference when it does to, like, say, the new Super Mario Brothers series, and just saying, like, there's that certain mechanic with each of these levels, but with Freeze, it introduces one mechanic that's integral to the whole level, but it builds and builds and builds and builds throughout the level. And that's one thing I love about Tropical Freeze and its level design. Especially, I mean, that kind of proved to me, like, you know what? Retro helped redefine a first-person shooter, especially the way that it's designed. And I felt like with Nintendo's help, probably overseas, they still know that they can make a good crack at a platformer. And I may pick this one up again because as we said at the beginning of this podcast, I want to see more people play this game.
Yeah. This is one of those games that deserves a second shot. Definitely.
Oh, definitely. No, I'm all for that. I just I already gave it a shot.
I'm never playing this game again.
No, it's good. It's good to more people play it. It's a fantastic game.
One thing I will say, and this is kind of, this goes with Donkey Kong, this goes with Bayonetta, is that I'm kind of disappointed. I understand their business that Nintendo's releasing these Wii U games. They're not really offering any type of price discount. if I'm not mistaken, I actually think, I don't know if they announced an official price, but the assumption is this is going to be $60 a beta. And those are actually price increases over the Wii U releases, which were $50 at the time they came out. And it's like, I get it that you want to sell this game, but why not just drop it to $40? The game is already made. And as fun as Funky Kong Mojo, because like, that's not really anything new.
No, that's correct on there. And okay, I know 60 could probably be a placeholder for it, but I don't think. Well, yeah, this game was originally 50 on the Wii U, and I don't think $10 justify for a new funky mode. So
it is very funky. But no, I think the least they could do. I don't think it is what they're going to do. Probably something I would have predicted they did. What they would have done is like tying up with the whole rewards program. They still have. Records. Well, assuming at the very least, if you had it digitally before, they would have known that. I'm not sure they would have known if you had it physical. I guess that gets a bit wishy-washy. Yeah, but I guess at the very least, it's like, oh, if you bought it digitally, you can have a very significant discount on your linked Switch, as it were, which we know you're the same person. Blah blah blah. But I very much doubt they'll do that either. But yeah, this is a problem they're going to face because I assume this isn't going to be the last of ports like this. And there's a few of them which were just announced. For the people who, and like I include myself in some of these games that, like I did buy on the Wii U, and yeah, I fancy buying the Switch version. Like Nintendo seem to have this idea going that they're going to reward people who are buying more games by offering them discounts and such. And like you would think like this would be the perfect opportunities for that. But we've not really seen that happen yet, and hopefully we do. But they're kind of missing the boat, as it were.
A little bit, yeah.
If you have not paid Donkey Kong Country, this doesn't have to be an amazing game. It's actually totally worth $60. It's just that if you bought it on the Wii U, it's like I've already spent $50 on that. I'm not even forced to spend another $60 or pay a game that the only thing it adds is a easy mode. And I'm just gonna say I'm going with calling easy modes from now on the funky mode. So I think that makes a lot more sense. But yeah, it's like and Bayonetta 2. And you get Bayonetta 1, fantastic games. It's just that if you've owned it on Wii U, it just feels like, why did I own a Wii U?
It's almost being for okay until we get a Wonderful 101 port though, then I'll say like, yeah, why did I own this?
Oh, that's the bar. I guess that would be the last bastion, as it were. That would be the last thing to move over. They would find some way to port Nintendo Land over for 101 does.
Oh. I would imagine you get Wonderful 101 before you get a Tokyo Mirage session.
So let's move on now to the final piece of Nintendo Direct mini news, which is Dark Souls is coming to the Switch. Dark Souls Remastered even has a release date, May 25th. Dark Souls is coming to the Switch.
Is it the Dark Souls of Switch releases?
It's the Dark Souls of Switch releases. This was something which was like rumored for a little while. I think there was even rumors of it like a trilogy pack.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the trilogy pack idea it's a bit excessive because of all these tougher games.
That's a life of luxury compared to what we're used to on the Switch, at least.
True, but yeah.
Or a trilogy pack in Japan.
Wait, what was that, Earl? You were saying about in Japan?
I said they announced the trilogy pack for Japan for the PlayStation 4. So,
okay.
I mean, yeah, you can sell these games one by one for an audience that has never played it. Why not?
Okay, and that does. I mean, we probably should mention.
We should talk about it a little.
We should probably talk about that before we jump over. Even if it's the last bit of news there. Where to begin, really? I guess small confession.
Here we go.
Because I mean, we don't talk about like now. Dark Souls is a Nintendo games. Now. Because we're talking about much non-Nintendo stuff. I've never played a Dark Souls game.
You were right. Nope.
No, all right.
I did play Demon Souls, the one before that did it. So,
original.
Yeah,
that's better, but it's still not quite there, though, is it? None of us have played it.
Oh, tragic. Oh, all we know is that these games are notorious for the difficulty. I don't. Does this game really need to be on Switch? That's my question. Because I don't feel like
it needs to be. What's the argument not for it to be there?
Well, I just feel like it's not really for a Nintendo audience. You feel?
I mean,
I've heard mixed things. I've heard from people who have played that. Oh, actually, one, like in terms of design principles and such. Oh, actually, it does borrow from a lot of like Nintendo's heritage, and oh, actually, playing that portable would be a great way to play that game. So I've heard these sort of things. I can't say how much of it rings true or not, but like this will at least be enough for me to check it out, because I heard so much about the series. I feel embarrassed even mentioning on the show that I've never played any of the Dark Souls games, knowing how big of a thing it's been over the last few years.
They beat that series into the ground, though. At least for me, because they made how many games? They made 3 games.
3, and then there's 3, and then there's Bloodborne.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 6-7 years. Like 3 of those 4 games in like 7 years, something crazy like that.
2011, I think, is when the first Dark Souls came out.
Yeah.
I mean, does that matter so much? I mean, it's
like,
people put this like top of their top 10 list sometimes.
Yeah, but I feel like it's because
good game's a good game.
That's the debate. Is it a good game, or is it just because it's called good because of its difficulty?
There's got to be some core good in it, surely.
Yeah, I think I can't judge because I haven't played it.
Exactly,
I do feel that
there's enough passion around it. There's got to be.
It rides a lot on its reputation.
Yeah, but that's the good news. I'm going to check it out.
I know. I will too. What about you, Earl? Will you be checking it out?
Probably not.
Oh, fair enough.
I know.
I have access to it, so.
Oh well. Yeah, it is.
All right, we got a couple more non-direct things to discuss. As always, these direct ones do run on long. The other bit of news we did tease at the beginning. Detective Pikachu is getting a Western release for the 3DS, of course. It hasn't moved over to Switch. So after the direct, well, I think it was the day after, or was it just very shortly?
It was like a day or two afterwards, I think.
Yeah. Nintendo dropped the trailer for Detective Pikachu, obviously localized, announcing that is coming out in March, so not long.
But there's one problem though in this. When this English localized version is no Ryan Reynolds or Danny DeVito voicing Detective Pikachu.
No, terrible.
It's a different thing. But what we do have, which may cheer you up, there is a giant Pikachu amiibo. Or at least a much bigger one than usual.
Worst nightmare.
Is it not your worst nightmare?
I'm gonna buy one of those. I'm gonna buy one of those, Colin. I'm gonna send it to you. Just because
I'll send it right back. I don't want this.
It lets you unlock the cutscenes up to where you are, Colin, in Detective Pikachu. Are you actually not going to play the game, Colin? What do you think? I think it looks quite impressive. Running on a 3DS.
Okay, Earl does not know about Colin's hatred of this mere existence of this game.
So let me break it down for you. This is just the dumbest interpretation of a character I've ever seen, and yet people are going crazy for it. I do not understand the amount of love there is for Detective Pikachu. It's a Pikachu in a stupid hat, and it's dumb.
Okay, well, one, I will say that Unitics exist, and for me, that would always be the worst interpretation of popular characters ever. Two, it's so bizarre you have to try it. Like, it makes no sense. So because like
I like Colin's.
Colin's
it makes no sense.
not impressed with the defense there.
It makes no sense, so that's why I'm intrigued by it. It's like the opposite of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where the gruff detective is the cute animal, and the human's the one's like, what the hell is going on here?
I like that. Yeah, that is basically what's going on.
It is a very strange premise to me. It's just like even though the voice actor in this one voicing Pikachu looked like he went through quite a few Marlboros, but still, I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, and I'm still just impressed just how good that game looks.
Yeah,
because most 3DS games, you blow them up to the TV, you go, "Ooh, what's that?" But even though it looks like a bit janky because it's a small screen game blown up to a big TV when you're watching it, assuming you watch it on a TV for your trailers, it like the cinematics and such, like they're very nicely done. I mean, it's it looks like these just on the technical level, like the characters have a lot of high poly count to them. It's performance wise, it looks like it's running well. Just like the odd kind of motion capture type technique they've got Pikachu going on as he talks or as he sips a little coffee as well, or does his mannerisms. It's stuff that I don't usually see on a 3DS. It all looks very cool.
But why is Pikachu a detective?
Why is he a detective? Because he's got a personality and he's chosen to use his abilities and skills the best way he can, which is solving crimes the police can't.
Isn't there...
what is wrong with that, Colin?
That's a terrible answer.
Why is that a terrible answer? What would be a good answer?
There is no good answer, because it should not exist.
Because there's hundreds of Pikachus in the world. This one's unique, and he's become a detective.
Well, to his point, I think there would be other Pokemon who are better detectives than Pikachu, but Pikachu's here, so...
I mean, there's another job. I think we did for a bonus round question last year, like what occupation that Pikachu should be. Mm-hmm. And, we got the summer ones, like doctor. And then somebody said like a therapist. And I'm like, you know what? The therapist Pikachu, I think would be... Shock therapy is very... Okay, now I got into dark territory. I don't know.
That's...
Oh, dear. But Detective Pikachu, I'm game for it. Even if... The dog's excited.
Yeah, we're all excited. Isn't that right,
yeah,
Con? There we go. We got Con. Cool. Moving on swiftly. Last piece of news. We're all in agreement. Nominees announced for the 21st DICE Awards. The short summary, the Nintendo-related ones at least. Breath of the Wild receives 6 nominations, including Game of the Year. Super Mario Odyssey receives 4 nominations, including Game of the Year.
Ooh. The One Award Show, well, I know it's very hard to everybody like what Jeff Keighley's been building up with the Game Awards, and to me, when you look in the grand sphere of things, that's more treated like a Golden Globe situation and the equivalent. And whereas DICE, as we mentioned in the past, that's technically the industry's Oscars almost. It's the thing that goes on the label like most of the time on box arts and such. I mean, dating back to this thing from like 20 years ago. No, this one, it's very surprising. I know Horizon Zero Dawn had led the whole nominations like 10, and a game which I own right now, and I'm getting through, and it's just phenomenal. But it's it'll be interesting how this kind of plays out, because when the Game Awards came in, especially with the voting from fans and then industry leaders, there was that thought about PlayerUnknown's Battleground may have kind of snuck in and get this to win the whole thing because of like how Odyssey and Breath of the Wild may be stealing votes from each other. But
right.
No, I usually tune into this most of the time when it's aired. I mean, it's lacks the glitz and glare, things like that, but still it's more professional and the things where you look like, okay, I'm down.
That's what you want from an award show. It's not all about the lights and
I
feel like
the after party's not sponsored by McDonald's.
After party, oh yes.
That was an experience, to be sure.
I bet.
Wait, you not? Yeah, you were in California during the Game Awards, weren't you?
Yeah, I went to California for the Game Awards. Yeah.
Oh wow! Yeah, geez, yeah. After party sponsored by McDonald's. Wow.
That's amazing.
I was going to say that there were some sponsorships for McDonald's in the show itself. I didn't know that's what they did for the after party.
Yeah. Small fries and
you gotta get your food from
cheeseburgers.
somewhere, right?
Yeah, we've got to quickly ask, like, how not to drag this on anymore, but as brief as you can, how was the Game Awards live, as it were? Then,
I mean, I think this year was much better than years past. I think the orchestra added a great element for the presentation and something to do during the breaks. It was, I mean, it's a very nice venue. It's in the Microsoft Theater, I believe. Really spacious, holds a lot of people. I was sitting on the left-hand side, so I got to see the little people who came up in the booths. I got to see when Reggie was up there before he did any of the announcements or anything. And that was kind of cool. It was really, I mean, aside from being sponsored by McDonald's, it's actually really nice. You know, we ran into a bunch of like developers and gaming personalities up there. But yeah, I mean, the Game Awards itself, I enjoyed being there. I think this was the first year I would have been happy going there and not feeling ripped off.
yeah.
Oh yeah, and you, that's essentially like it's Jeff Keighley's baby of sorts, and it's continuously getting better, regardless of what many will say of the whole category that's related with trending gamer and what that leads to. So I'll just leave it at that. But other than that,
it's the Madden Curse of video games. Right? I mean, it's the Madden Curse of video game awards.
Okay, I think that officially wraps up our Nintendo news then for this week, and with that, the show itself. But before we do go off, we'll do our usual thing. We'll go around the group, and we'll let you know how you can get hold of us if you want to, and anything else we've been up to. Harrison, would you like to go first?
Certainly. You can reach me at Twitter at @hmilfeld, and if you want to be my Switch friend, I have my friend code and pinned to the top of my profile, so I hope to get to you soon.
And Colin.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Heidi and Barge. You can find me tweeting about how much I detest Pikachu in a detective outfit.
You better send those tweets now.
He's typing away.
I'm typing away. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Cool. And Earl.
You can find me on Twitter at ER_NOTR. Where I'm usually tweeting about 50 things at once because I have no attention span and a lot of interest. You can find me Abusing My Power at Resetra. I'm a mod over there. And if you ever want to find me and my work, you can check out nerdsontheRocks.com.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, for myself, if you want to find me, best place is Twitter. And the name you need is Luvion, and the way you spell that is LEUVSION. And support. I want to thank Earl once again for joining us on the show. And
thank you for having me.
No worries at all. And for everyone else, thanks again for watching or listening, however you digest this show. And once again, this has been Nintendo Voice.
Take care, everyone.
See you later, folks.